So before this video starts, I understand that the issue of abortion is very polarizing. All that I'm asking of you, the viewer, is to come into this episode with an open mind. That's all. We might not agree on everything, and that is 100% okay. That is why we live in a country where we can talk about certain things. We can disagree and we can still be friends or have a good conversation with each other. I try really hard in this episode to just look at the facts of the draft from Alito and also debunk the lies that the Democrats and also the news media is trying to push right now. And with that, I will stop my rambling, and I really hope that you enjoy this episode even though it is a very polarizing topic. Thanks for listening.
What you are about to experience is out of this world. Politics, history, and of course, a lot of entertainment. It's time to rock it with the Docket.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Kyle Dockery with the Dockery Docket. We are here with our very 96th episode of the Dockery Docket. I'm excited to be here, and I hope that you are excited to be here as well. And if you are excited to be here as well, make sure to go down below, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, so then you never miss one of my videos. So, before the Supreme Court decides to vote on certain things, they create different drafts of legal precedents and opinions about certain cases on the books. These drafts are then usually talked about with other justices to refine them. And other justices can add their own opinions as well, meaning both liberal and conservative judges can talk about it and make a finer opinion. This means that these different drafts go through a lot of changes. And that's why they are always kept secret from the public, because the court isn't ready to release what they have found to the public yet. And if people understand what the Supreme Court might do in the future, then those people might get mad and then they will threaten to kill the justices. So it is also for the safety of the judges as well that things are kept secret. This is why this week was so huge for the Supreme Court, as one of these drafts was leaked to the public. The draft was from Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito, and it talked about how the court wants to overturn Roe v. Wade. This is huge, as Roe v. Wade has been controversial since it was first decided by an all-male Supreme Court back in 1973. But what does that actually mean for Roe v. Wade? And what does that also mean for the United States? Luckily for all of you, I've decided to read the draft from Samuel Alito, so then you don't have to, and you can understand what might be happening in the future. I also highly recommend that you go and read it yourself as well. It's available for free. I believe Politico has an article with it in it. I can post that in the description down below. Now, Alito starts out this draft by saying that Roe v. Wade needs to be overturned. As he says, Roe was egregiously wrong from the start. Its reasoning was exceptionally weak, and the decision has had damaging consequences. And far from bringing about a national settlement of the abortion issue, Roe and Casey have inflamed debate and deepened division. So we all know that this is true, as abortion has been a hot-button issue for many years. It was probably the thought of the Supreme Court back in 1973 that after Roe v. Wade was passed, the court would never have to worry about this again and people would just go back to their daily lives. But they didn't, because people continued to have different opinions on the issue of abortion, and before Roe v. Wade, it was up to the states to decide what they wanted to do when it came to abortion. So Alito wants to get rid of Roe v. Wade. He has made that 100% clear. He based this on the grounds that Roe versus Wade is unconstitutional. As he wrote, "The Constitution makes no reference to abortion, and no such right is implicitly protected by any constitutional provision," which is true, as Roe was loosely deemed constitutional on the 14th Amendment and the right to privacy. But, however, the 14th Amendment doesn't even mention a right to privacy. Along with that, when the 14th Amendment was adopted, Alito explains that 3/4 of states made abortion a crime at all stages of pregnancy. This means that the framers that wrote this amendment did not write it to protect abortion rights, and claiming that the amendment covers abortion rights to alito is wrong. He explains also that because abortion was illegal in so many states at the time, that abortion was not deeply rooted in the nation's history and tradition. This is different to the example of the 14th Amendment that was used to protect the right to bear arms. As he explained, a similar inquiry was undertaken in a case called MacDonald, which held that the 14th Amendment protects the right to keep and bear arms. The lead opinion surveyed that the origin of the Second Amendment, the debates in Congress about the adoption of the 14th Amendment, the state constitutions in effect when the amendment was ratified. Only then did the opinion conclude that the framers and ratifiers of the 14th Amendment counted the right to keep and bear arms among those fundamental rights necessary to our system of ordered liberty. I know that was a lot, but it is important because the Second Amendment was a held American tradition and was one of the main rights enshrined in the Constitution, and it was there to keep liberty. According to Alito, the right to have an abortion does not do the same thing as, say, for example, the Second Amendment does. Keep liberty. Another example of this comes from assisted suicide, as there was a case called Glucksberg, which held that the Due Process Clause, which is in the 14th Amendment, does not give people the right to assisted suicide. According to Alito, this made clear that a fundamental right must be objectively deeply rooted in this nation's history and traditions, just like how the Second Amendment is. And that would also work for the First Amendment, the Third Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, all the way up to the Eighth Amendment. So if there is a possibility that Roe v. Wade was overturned, what does Alito want to replace it with? Well, to Alito, the answer is not to ban abortion completely or make it illegal for women to get an abortion. It is actually the opposite. As he wrote, "It is time to heed the Constitution and return to the issue of abortion to the people's elected representatives. We all know that each state is different, and some states, like in the South, for example, before and after Roe v. Wade, had laws where abortion was illegal or restricted, and people liked those laws as they voted for people that represented those different values. Along with this, there are states like California that are very relaxed on abortion, and the people of that state like that because they voted for people that represent abortion. As Alito explained, for the first 185 years after the adoption of the Constitution, each state was permitted to address this issue of abortion in accordance with the views of its citizens. He continued this thought by saying, in the years prior to Roe v. Wade, about a third of the states had liberalized their laws, but Roe abruptly ended that political process. It imposed the same highly restrictive regime on the entire nation, and it effectively struck down the abortion laws of every single state. It represented the exercise of raw judicial power, and it sparked a national controversy that has embittered our political culture for a half century. Basically, what he is saying here is to end this controversy, the issue of abortion needs to go back to the states, so people can vote on it. Instead of the Supreme Court saying you must do this or you must do that, the people in a democracy will be able to vote for what they want. Because to Alito, this system of Roe v. Wade is not working because we are still so divided on this. As Alito explains once again, as this quote sounds a lot like the previous one, as he said, Roe certainly did not succeed in ending the division on the issue of abortion. On the contrary, Roe inflamed a national issue that has remained bitterly divisive for a half century. This court's inability to end debate on the issue should not have been surprising. This court cannot bring about the permanent resolution of a draconian national controversy simply by dictating a settlement and telling the people to move on. Whatever influence the court may have on public attitudes must stem from the strength of our opinions, not an attempt to exercise raw judicial powers. In this entire draft, Alito never says once that he wants to ban abortion, or does he want to force all women to give birth. He doesn't want the courts to make the decisions, but instead he wants the states, the people, the representatives to make that decision. Alito, however, understood that the overturning of this case would cause a lot of issues when it comes to public opinion. As he wrote, We do not pretend to know how our political system or society will respond to today's decision overruling Roe and Casey. And even if we could foresee what will happen, we would have no authority to let the knowledge influence our decision. We can only do our job, which is to interpret the law, apply long-standing principles of stare decisis, and decide this case accordingly. We therefore hold that the Constitution does not confer a right to abortion. Roe and Casey must be overturned, and the authority to regulate abortions must be returned to the people and their elected representatives. Once again, he says, back to the states. He is not saying that abortion should be banned 100%. And it is important to make that clear when we talk about the reactions that people in politics have had when this draft was leaked. Also, it is important that when it comes to the Supreme Court, everything that happens is sealed tight, and no one in the public is supposed to read what they are going to do in the future. So someone in the Supreme Court, maybe a clerk that worked with one of these justices, leaked this draft out to the public, and this is extremely illegal. And according to John Roberts, the Chief Justice of the United States, they will be looking into it and finding out who did this. It could have been a conservative clerk that was working with Alito and wanted to show conservatives that Roe v. Wade would soon be gone. Or it could have been a clerk that was working for one of the more liberal judges that didn't want something like Roe v. Wade to be destroyed, so they released the draft so then the leftists could start to riot and get angry and start to protest, claiming that these terrible right-wing judges are trying to steal a woman's right to choose. So because this situation was so huge, as this was the first time a draft was leaked from the Supreme Court in the entire history of the Supreme Court, this has never happened before. Like, this goes back to 1789 when it was established. Nothing has been leaked. This is why this is such a big deal. So you would think that the White House would come out and condemn whoever decided to leak out this document. But of course, they didn't, and Jen Psaki made that perfectly clear. Here's what she had to say about that.
With the home addresses of the Supreme Court justices, is that the kind of thing this president wants to help your side make their point?
Look, I think the president's view is that there's a lot of passion, a lot of fear, a lot of sadness from many, many people across this country about what they saw in that leaked document. We obviously want people's privacy to be respected. We want people to protest peacefully if they want to protest. That is certainly what the president's view would be.
So he doesn't care if they're protesting outside the Supreme Court or outside someone's private residence?
I don't have an official U.S. government position on where people protest. We want it, of course, to be peaceful. And certainly the president would want people's privacy to be respected. But I think we shouldn't lose the point here. The reason people are protesting is because women across the country are worried about their fundamental rights that have been law for 50 years, their rights to make choices about their own bodies and their own health care are at risk. That's why people are protesting. They're unhappy. They're scared.
She said this because to the Democrats and to the radical left, this is a good thing. Because the left can run around the country and claim that these terrible, evil, right-wing extremists are trying to ban abortions, when we know that that isn't true. We read the draft. This is the left's big lie, and they are going to scream it until they are blue in the face. Because the Democrats right now are falling in the polls. And this to them is their final lifeline. They must run on abortion. And I say, let them do it. Let the Democrats come out and say that they are pro-killing children. I'm 100% fine with that. Because they are being transparent with us. They are now telling us what they really want. First, for the left, all the way back in 2008, the main phrase for abortion was safe, legal, and rare. And then, later on in the 2016 election, they took out the rare part and just made it safe and legal. Now today they are claiming that it is a human right to kill your child, all the way up to 9 months. Do you not believe me? Well, Chuck Schumer, the House Majority Leader, is releasing a bill called the Women's Health Protection Act, which I'm putting in quotations. I'm going to call it the Kill Baby Bill. This bill will impose a right to an abortion through all 9 months of pregnancy and will invalidate state laws. This would mean that this bill could invalidate various states' bans on partial birth abortion, What is partial birth abortion, you might be asking? Well, it is for the baby's head just to be delivered, and then the abortionist stabs the exposed head. This is what the left is running on. This is what they want. And this is what they are claiming is women's health. This is what they believe will help them win the midterm elections. The problem is that the radical left are believing the Democrats' big lie, that the Supreme Court wants to ban abortions, and the Supreme Court is somehow going to force every woman in the world to have a baby. This is why there are so many protests going on right now, because they have bought into this terrible lie. Now, I believe that peaceful protests are a good thing, but we all know for the last summer, a democratic protest isn't always peaceful. Now, here's the thing. People are allowed to protest outside the Supreme Court, but they have to be careful not to disrupt the court's proceedings, as that is illegal. As according to U.S. Code Title 18, Chapter 73, it says, whoever with the intent of interference with obstructing or implementing the administration of justice, or with the intent of influencing any judge, juror, witness, or court official in the discharge of his duty, picketing or parades, in or near a building housing a court of the United States, or in or near a building or residence occupied or used by such judge, juror, witness, or court official, or with such intent uses any sound truck or similar device, or resort to any other demonstration in or near any such building or residence, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than a year. This code also applies to where the justices live, meaning that you can't go to a justice's house and protest. So do you want to know what the radical leftists did? They released the addresses of the homes of the Supreme Court justices. I know, you're shocked. As there was a group called Ruth Sent Us, which is in reference to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and they published the addresses of Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito, Clarence Thomas, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, and John Roberts. Their ad said, announcing, walk by Wednesday, May 11th, 2022, at the homes of the 6 extremist judges, 3 in Virginia and 3 in Maryland. If you'd like to join or lead a peaceful protest, let us know. The ad continues by saying, our 6-3 extremist Supreme Court routinely issues rulings that hurt women, racial minorities, LGBTQIAP people, and immigrant rights. We must rise up to force accountability using a diversity of tactics. It is funny how they say 6-3, which technically it's 5-4 because Roberts always sides with the left. Still, however, this is extremely dangerous, as it could hurt the justices. I mean, there are already calls from the peaceful among us to kill one of the justices, so then this decision won't go through, as it will be tied 4-4. And some are claiming that they want to kill the filibuster, which apparently is racist, even though Democrats have used it for a long time. And they want to pack the Supreme Court, just with liberal justices, though. I'm pretty sure that when a Republican comes into office, they can't add more conservative justices. These people have all fallen for the lie. And another thing is that none of these justices have even voted on this issue yet. Who knows what a judge is going to think? It hasn't even been debated yet, because all we have is this 98-page draft and everyone is losing their mind over it. The people on the left are losing their minds so much that they are deciding to take the abortion issue into their own hands. As there was an article from Vice called Anarchist Collective shares instructions to make DIY abortion pills. This new drug is called misoprostol. I'm probably saying that wrong, I'm not a doctor. Which is used to help treat ulcers, wait for it, in horses. Hold on just 1 second. You are telling people to take horse medicine to kill their babies? Didn't you just say this year that taking a horse medicine like ivermectin to cure COVID was bad and misinformation and it was a dangerous thing to do? Didn't you say that telling people to take ivermectin was literally going to kill people? You wanted to take Joe Rogan off the air because he took ivermectin on his own and said, hey, I took all these different pills and ivermectin was one of them. And you said that he was going to literally kill people, and now you're running around saying, go kill your babies, here's some horse pills. Please, make it make sense to me. I don't get it. Because here's the thing. The worst thing that could happen with taking ivermectin was that it might not have worked and it might not have cured COVID. But with these new horse pills that are Democrat approved, you are literally putting poison into your body to kill something else that is inside you. The article talks about how taking 3 doses of these horse pills, Democrat approved, have an 85% effective rate, and if taken with mifepristone, and again, I'm going to say that wrong and it's fine, that rate rises to 95% effective. Remember, they are posting this because they believe the big lie, that these evil Supreme Court justices are trying to ban abortions. The article even says that in its first line, as it says, with the Supreme Court posed to overturn the constitutional right to abortion. Once again, if you read the draft, it says nothing about overturning abortion. And it even talks about how abortion is not a constitutional right as well. I believe these people have clearly lost their minds. In the end, I might have to make another episode on this topic because there is so much information that is being spread around right now. I understand that there are situations where abortion is necessary, like if the life of the mother is in danger, rape and incest. We can all agree that those are grounds to where abortions can be performed. Abortion is not birth control. It is not something that should be elective or that people should be proud of. It's a serious medical situation, and you can say whatever you want. I know I'm not allowed to have an opinion because I'm a man, even though men make up half of the parents, and the left has informed me that men can get pregnant, so that argument is out the window. Apple even released this emoji. All I want is for babies to not die. That's it. And I personally believe that under the Constitution, they have a right to live. I also hate it that the left is trying to push so hard for women to kill their babies, and they're claiming that it is the end of democracy. Even though if Roe v. Wade is overturned, it goes back to the states where people can vote on it, which is democracy. It means that states can pass more abortion laws, or they can say anyone can get an abortion at any time, because the states have a right to make their own choices. That is why, next time when someone posts a stupid meme or asks you how you feel about the Supreme Court banning abortion, just ask them, did you read the draft? And with that, I just want to thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Dockery Docket. And until next time, like my mom always says, be good, be kind, be loving, goodbye.